The Texans are in a very interesting spot headed into this draft. We're picking at 28, but we're in a position where we can trade down or move up depending on the way the board goes. I like to call this a position where we can read the board. So, for example, if a player like Olavega Ione begins to fall, then Nick Caserio could maybe move some capital around. We picked up 38 from the Laramie Tunsil trade. We picked up 69 from the Jackson Dart trade with the Giants last year. We don't have our own third round pick because we moved around for Woody Marks. So you can see how Nick Caserio likes to navigate the draft board. He averages around four trades a draft, excuse me. Um, and it puts him in a position where he can gather capital for next year. He can utilize his capital for this year to obtain more picks, to take more swings and misses in the draft. But we are sitting in the first round at pick 28. So today's video is going to be my first round big board. This does have some guys that could potentially be in the second round, or they could even be in the first round. We don't really know because this draft is, not really a top heavy draft. It's a draft where you've got your top 15 shoe in first round picks, and then after that, 20 to 70, everyone can just intermix. So you're kind of just looking and evaluating guys that are going to be the best fit for your organization. We know the Texans like their personality guys, um, and guys that are swarmy, and just ready to maul when they come in. So Nick Casario does have a lot on his hands. The scouts did have a lot on their hands in this pre-draft process. We still got a week and a half until we do end up on the clock 8 minutes in the first round this year, and we'll see if the Texans do end up wanting to make their selection. We could even trade out of the first round before the draft begins, but we do have some players that might go in the second, might go in the first, that we are talking about today. So let's just get into my first round big board. And we start out here with Caden Proctor, number one overall. He can go number 6 to the Browns. He could go, 28 to the Texans. He could fall. Um, he could be in that 20s range. Maybe the Chargers take a swing on him. He's going to be a developmental player, which is why I don't think 6 to the Browns makes a lot of sense. Maybe 24 to the Browns does make some sense, but um, again, a developmental player who needs to cut down his weight. Got good athleticism for his size, but I would like him to cut down that size. He's a physical player with really good strength, obviously at 6'7", 366, I believe he's listed at. I believe he cut down a little bit before the NFL Combine, but I would like to see him cut down a little bit more. Um, you could develop him into your Trent Brown. You could develop him into a guard if you wanted to in the NFL. And I think he'd be a very successful guard if that athleticism is there, but that athleticism comes down with chopping down some weight. At 2, it's Keldrick Falk, another guy that could go, 16 to the Jets. He could go at 20 to the Cowboys. He could go at 12 to the Cowboys. We don't really know. But he's got rare size and the rare ability to stop the run at that position. 6'6", 285. Had, I believe, 9 overall sacks in college. But not the end of the world. The production was there for a year. Had 7 in one single season, and then he asked to play the 4-eye, the 0 at Auburn, which kind of limited his production. And teams didn't really throw against Auburn because their interior defensive line wasn't at its standard. But if they were into the edge, Keldrick Falk was always there. Very good at just flowing to the ball. Especially in the run game, that's where he excels. Number 3 is Peter Woods. This is my hopeful. This is who I want the Texans to draft. I don't know if it's at 28. Maybe it's at like 33 or 34 if the Cardinals want to move up or the Jets want to move up to go get Ty Simpson. But this is my hopeful 3 tech, which the Texans use a lot. You can see other defensive linemen in there, and Caden McDonald, who's a 1 tech in my opinion. Caleb Banks, a 3 tech, but can play the 9, can play the 5. Lee Hunter, I think, can play 3 tech as well, but pad level issues are a concern for me, but we'll get to them in a little bit. Peter Woods, I just think, is an elite player. I think he should be going in the top 15 in my opinion, but doesn't seem like it. It seems like he's going to be beginning to fall. I don't know if characters are a concern or anything like that. I haven't really heard anything with Peter Woods, but a tremendous player who has really high pass rush upside from the interior defensive lineman position, and I think if you pair him with Daniil Will Anderson, you've got one of the best defensive lines in the league. Actually, the best defensive line in the league. It's not even a debate anymore if you do get Peter Woods in there. I think defensive lines that could compete. The Giants have a sneaky good offensive line. Dexter Lawrence is playing at his best. If Nani Matabike comes back, then the Ravens have a very solid defensive line. But I mean, nothing really competes with the Texans there. And if you add Peter Woods to the fire, then you've got one of the better defenses of all time at your hands. At number 4, it's Emmanuel Pregnon. I really like the player that Pregnon is. I think he's good in the run game. He's a physical player. He suits more of what the Texans do compared to Basantis, which is the disparity in the rankings. I prefer Basantis to Pregnon as a player. So part of me wanted to put Basantis at 4, but as I continue to watch film and stuff, I realized that Pregnon's a lot better of a run blocker than Basantis is, but he can get beat a little bit in the pass game. Good athlete though, especially for his size at 6'5", 315. Got good hands. Just a very very physical player. And fluid I think is the name of the game for Pregnon, and that's also the name of the game for Blake Miller, who is at number 5 for me. Just an insanely fluid player. He makes it look effortless at times. Can't remember what game it was. He was going up against a top prospect. It might have been Tech. No, they wouldn't play Tech. Edge rushers. Who am I thinking of? ACC. I can't remember what I'm thinking of, but he just made it look effortless, when he was playing against those players. Just an insanely fluid guy, um, and, good hands, pretty much good everything. You ask Blake Miller to do something, he's gonna be able to do it for you. He might be able to kick inside the guard. He's got good arm length, though, so he could even play left tackle for you if you want to. Um And I think now that I'm thinking of it, sorry, the reason I keep pausing is because 'cause I'm trying to think of the team that they're playing. I believe it was, Penn State in their bowl game that I'm thinking of, and Denida Sutton just wasn't able to do anything, against Blake Miller. Blake Miller just a really fluid player, got good hands, really, soft feet, which helps him, solidify his base. So I really like the player that Blake Miller is. I think if the Texans are looking for a backup right tackle to develop behind Braden Smith, Trent Brown, whatever it may be, then Blake Miller could certainly be your guy, and that could be your swing tackle next year. So if he's available at 28, I'm not certain he will be, but I would like to see the Texans explore that opportunity. At number 6 is Christian Miller. This is the guy that is top fit on my app, the HoustonStressens.com draft tracker. The probability rankings have Christian Miller at a 98. This is a guy that excels in the run game. Run grades are a lot higher than the pass grades. You'll see that when you watch the film as well. But he's got a really quick first step. I think the pass rush upside might be there for Christian Miller. I think it might just take some fine tuning with his technique and stuff like that, getting him to, either bull rush, swim, club, whatever it may be for Christian Miller. I think he needs to develop a pass rush game for him, but incredibly good run defender, always in the mix for Georgia. When other teams run the ball. And he's a really exciting player to watch just because of how quick that first step is. He stayed at Georgia for all 4 years, which is kind of an anomaly now in college football, but um, really good player, young, and I think kind of is what D'Amico would like from an interior defensive lineman. Caden McDonald there. I like him as a player, but I think he's a one tech. So I think if he goes to a team like the Bears, that's a better fit for him. But really good interior run defender. Plays in the A gap a lot though, which is why I'm concerned with his fit in Houston. But maybe if we just want to switch up the scheme, get a run defender in there, Caden McDonald's certainly an option. Um, Chase Basantis, really good pass protector, really good hands. I know people say he tends to use his arms too much, but when he uses his arms are excellent. His hands are excellent. You can't really fault a player for using his best trait. I know the arms are only like 32 and a half inches, but at the same time, you're playing interior defensive line where, I believe like Peter Woods has 32 and a half inch arms. The only anomaly at interior defensive line is Caleb Banks there. So I feel like Basantis would be able to use that in the NFL still. And he's got a really good anchor, really good base, and his hands are excellent. Ihanator at 9, I think this is a developmental piece. So if you, again, similar to Blake Miller, if you want a developmental right tackle behind Braden Smith or Trent Brown, Ihanator is probably your guy more than Blake Miller. I think Blake Miller's a little more polished. If you want to create Ihanator into a Texans player, I still think you're able to. Really good player, really good hands, really fluid feet. I think he's got some of the best feet in the draft. Didn't play football until college, I believe, but has shown improvement every year, and I think could be an exciting piece for a team to take a swing on. And maybe it's Houston, maybe it's the Patriots at 30, though we don't really know. At 10, it's Zion Young, a really really good player, really exciting player, someone I really like. Has pass rush upside. He does have character concerns, but 8 sacks at Missouri, one of the most swarm guys in this draft. Really good against the run, but excels against the pass rush. Or against the pass. Sorry, he's a really good pass rusher. So if you're looking for a DN3, Zion Young is certainly that, and then could develop into that Daniil Hunter role once Daniil is ready to leave. At 11, it's my probably favorite player in this draft. I would say this is between Peter Woods and Casey Concepcion to be my favorite player in the draft. Just rare separation ability. obviously the hands are a concern. He catches the ball not with the triangle. He tries to time it and like clap his hands together. It's hard to explain, but basically he tries to clap instead of create that diamond, that triangle that allows you to, kind of just fold your hands over the ball and caress it. But rare athleticism, rare ability to make plays on punt return, on kick return. If you have him with Jalen Noel on kick return, then you've got a dangerous duo. This could be your slot receiver of the future. Really, really elite separation ability. Um, he approaches defenders or defensive backs, I guess, because he's going against defensive backs. He approaches their hips so quickly that when he turns, they're not able to turn, and he's just able to create separation. We're gonna watch some film of this video too, so you'll be able to see that. Caleb Lomu at 12. I think this could be a potential pick at 28. I don't know if he'll be in the first round. A guy that played left tackle at Utah and I think could transition over to right tackle in the NFL. He could even play left tackle if you want to move Ursery out to right tackle in the future and just develop Lomu behind Ursery until Braden Smith and Trent Brown do end up leaving. And then you put Lomu at left, Ursery at right, because there were inklings that the Texans might want to move Ursery to right tackle. We don't really know for certain yet. He played well enough at left tackle to lead me to believe we should just leave him there. But Caleb Lomu has flexibility across the entire offensive line: left tackle, left guard, right tackle. Maybe you could even develop him into a center if you wanted to, but got good hands. Another tackle with just a good anchor. Um, I think excels in the pass game more than the run game. But I think you can develop him as a run blocker if you just get him to lean on his strengths a little bit more. I feel like he's a little hesitant to lean on those strengths, but he knows how well he blocks in the pass game, and that's where he leans on those strengths. So, uh, some development for Caleb Lomu, but I think if you're going to a team that can, be patient, Houston's certainly a destination, which is why he makes this list. 13, it's Caleb Banks. Similar to Lee Hunter, he's got the pad level issues. He does have injury concerns too with his foot. Just seems like he can't stay out of injury trouble the last 2 years. So I don't know if that means he'll fall, but got rare size, rare athleticism. For the interior defensive lineman position, 6'6", 330, 32-inch vertical, ran basically a 5, second 40, and you see it on tape how good of a nuisance he is, I think is the way to put it. He's just always there, always wreaking havoc. Again, has pad level concerns. You can see him demolish an interior offensive lineman one time, and then the next play he's going to be on his back. So it's a little inconsistent when you watch the film, but I think a lot of that is due to his size. And I think he does need some just coaching to teach him how to use his pad level, just stay low. I understand it's hard at 6'6", 330, but at some point he's going to have to transition to doing that, or I think he might be a bust in the NFL because, I mean, interior offensive linemen are just going to take advantage of that every time they can. If they see a dude who's just rising high up, they're going to just jam their hands inside and just drive him back effortlessly. It doesn't matter that Caleb Banks is 6'6", 330. He doesn't have balance if he's just upright. So he's going to have to learn how to manage his pad level. Again, same thing with Lee Hunter, a nuisance, but that pad level is a concern. So basically the same thing for Lee Hunter. I said goes or basically the same thing I said for Caleb Banks goes for Lee Hunter. And then at 14, Malachi Lawrence there. I think this is an exciting one. I haven't really talked about Malachi Lawrence too much. Just because of the range we draft at. I think we could look to him at 38. Um, I think we could look to him at 28. I think he might sneak in the back half of the first round. Got really good athleticism, got a really good pass rush bag, I guess is the way to put it, like a basketball bag where you have a lot of different moves. Malachi Lawrence has a lot of different moves, decent length, but really really good athleticism, which stands out. He's able to just blow by dudes. And just wreak havoc, and he was really good for UCF against better competition. Obviously had some meh games, had some good games in there as well, but a really exciting player Malachi Lawrence is, and I think again, if you're looking for edge, you're looking for your DN3, and I think the Texans could really consider that in the first round with how good this edge class is. And I think Malachi Lawrence is a guy that could sneak into the back half of the first round, so there's that. And we're gonna start off with the film here, and we're gonna go with Caden Proctor first up. We're gonna go in order of the board, so obviously Proctor first, Falk second, Woods third, Pregnon fourth, Miller fifth, Miller sixth as well. But McDonald seventh, Basantis eight, Ihanacho nine, Young 10, Concepcion 11, Lomu 12, Banks 13, Lawrence 14, and Hunter 15. So if you do just want to watch a certain player's film, just know that the order of the big board is the order of the film. But we'll start off with Caden Proctor here, and you can see him. He played left tackle and you can just see the strength. That's R. Mason Thomas right there, one of the better defensive linemen in this class. That's Joshua Josephs. You can see if he just gets his hands on you, it's effortless for him, just because of how strong he is at 6'7", 366. I mean, yeah, you get his you get your hands on that dude, and Caden Proctor's gonna drive him back all day of the week. He's got a good base, a decent base for left tackle as well. The film's a little inconsistent. These are obviously some of his better plays, but he does get beat sometimes with his feet. Um, but I mean, just a really good player. You can see that quick step's quite nice as well. Um, and just able to absolutely maul dudes. It's gonna be some are minute long, some are a couple minutes long in terms of these films. That's Christian Miller there, a dude we're analyzing. And you can see he's just able to take advantage of people that are off balance with how big he is. Um, you can see there a little bit of the issues, how he just got drove back a little bit when he gets a little off balance. But I mean, if he gets his hands on you and he's able to drive you, good luck. That's basically all I can tell you. Just able to absolutely dominate in some games, and then some other games where he's going against these silky smooth pass rushers, he does have a little bit of issues. And I think a lot of that comes down to the size. I know, I've been saying at his size it's such a strength, but I think if you're able to cut down some, fat and turn it into muscle, um, and play at 345, 350 instead of 370, then I think you'd be in a lot better of a spot, and you'd be a lot more athletic if you're a Caden Proctor, who they had a lot of fun with that Alabama. They lined him up in the slot, they lined him up at wide receiver, just to give him some packages to get out in open space because they know how much he can maul and how hard he is to bring down at that size. And I mean, you can just see him latch on to dudes. That's one of his best attributes is just being able to latch on. My only concern with him is if that works in the NFL. A lot of these pass rushers just excel with chopping opposing offensive lineman hands and just getting to the quarterback, getting to the run game. But I think Caden Proctor's an intriguing prospect, and I'll be intrigued to see where he goes. If it's Texans at 28, then I'm ecstatic. But we'll move on here to Keldrick Falk, another exciting player. As I talked about, really good in the run game. You can see how well he just flows to the football. Just really goes in the direction of where the ball is going. And teams, tried to stop running towards him just because they knew how much he wreaked havoc. And they ran towards Kieran Crawford a little bit more. But Kieran Crawford, also a very decent edge rusher, a guy I really like. And that's one of his 2 sacks on the year, I believe. But I mean, yeah, you just see how effortless it is with his hands in the run game. Just quick twitch, move, and just wreak havoc on the run. And again, just keeping his base. He's 6'6", 285. I think, or 275. Maybe he plays at 275, but he's listed at 285. But just really good in the run game. You don't really see any pass rush highlights from Falk this past season, just because teams didn't really run the ball or pass the ball, excuse me, against Auburn, as I talked about already. Um, that's actually against Mendoza when he was at Cal, I believe, which is fun. 2 sacks in the same game, but absolutely wreaked havoc in that game. You can just see how elite he is in the run game. You'd like him to be a little bit more bendy. I think that's a concern with some people, but at the same time, you're going at 6'6", 275, 285, whatever it might be. It's a little hard to be bendy at that, but he's got, I mean, elite size, elite athleticism, and you can see Caden Proctor low light there, just getting beat off the jump. But just a really good player in the run game is the only way to put it. Um, and just got that elite sense of ability to lock, peek, and shed. And if you don't know what that means, it's lock onto your defender, peek to see which way the running back is going in the run game. So, for example, if they run left, you shed to the left. If they run right, you shed to the right. He takes control of offensive linemen very effortlessly, and a guy that I really like. So, again, if Keldrick Falk, similar to Caden Proctor, falls to 28, I would like to see the Texans just pull in that draft card right away. But we will go to the next player here, which is Peter Woods. And this is just, I believe, his game against Georgia. So it's not going to be too long of highlights, but you can see how elite he is with his athleticism, with his first step. And you can just see how effortlessly he does get through. I mean, yeah, just look at that. That's not 6'3", 310, in my opinion. Um, just an incredibly good player. You can see he forced the ball out there. Pass rush upside, as I just said there, and isn't afraid to just maul. I think he's a swarmy guy. I know some people don't see it that way, but a really exciting player Peter Woods is, and I touched on him quite a while for at the beginning of this video. I really like the player that Peter Woods is. This is my draft hopeful. I hope that Peter Woods becomes a Texan, and I hope the Texans are looking to get Peter Woods, but obviously we'll see come draft day what they want to do. But yeah, that is Peter Woods there. Just a really exciting player, and I think could be an elite interior defensive lineman in the NFL. Number 4, it is, Emmanuel Pregnon. You can just see the power that he possesses in the run game. This is against Indiana at Oregon, a game that they lost, but it was really close. But again, as I talk about power, you can see the power. He's not afraid to go find work. If he has no responsibility, he's going to go find someone else to block, like they're finding a double team, then climbing up to the second level. Just a really fun player. You can see how well he climbs, and I think that's something the Texans need to do. I feel like we locked on to interior defensive linemen so much that it didn't allow. I guess last year it would have been Woody Marks to excel and hit that second level. But if you bring someone who knows how to climb the ladder, like an Emmanuel Pregnon, it's definitely an exciting thing. And you can see how much he likes to find work. He's not going to latch on to one guy. He's just going to latch on to the guy that poses the biggest threat, which is the most important thing for an offensive lineman. You pride yourself on not giving up sacks. You pride yourself on just not letting anything bad happen. So you're always going to trying to find the most dangerous target to go and find work. And you can just see how easy he mauls people in the run game. Um, that's Zane Durant there, a prospect that I actually really like later in the draft. But I mean, decent feet. I wouldn't say that's his strongest ability. I think his best ability is just using his hands and getting to his anchor. That base. But really strong dude. Which I think definitely plays into it as well. Gonna maul people in the NFL. He's gonna be a really exciting player to watch. And he was all right at USC. Definitely didn't reach the standard that he did at Oregon, but I mean, you see the film from this past year. He's such a good player, and you can see him just waiting and finding work every single highlight that there is here. Um, just not afraid, and that's something the Texans need is offensive linemen who are just going to put in the work. Emmanuel Pregnon is certainly that. Um, and I mean, he just drives dudes back for a living with how good of a base he has, how strong he is. Once he gets that base and that ability to get that leverage, he's just going to drive you back all day of the week, or he's just going to run you over. That's the type of player Emmanuel Pregnon is. It's very swarm like, just on the offensive side of the ball, which is something that I think the Texans would be intrigued with, and I wouldn't be surprised if Pregnon is a Texan. I think this is something they could certainly look to do. But that's the film for Pregnon. Again, a really good player that I really do like. And I think a good schematic fit for the Texans if we were to look for guard, either at 28 or even 38. But we move on here to Blake Miller, and as I said, look at how effortless it looks. Like he just gets out there and then he just does what he wants with you. Um, I mean, it's so weird to evaluate because you're kind of just like, well, does he even care about football? Obviously, he cares about football. It's just look at that. Like it comes naturally and it comes so easy for him. I think is the only way to put it. Um, got such good feet, such good athleticism for a right tackle. I would be so excited if the Texans drafted Blake Miller. This has been a draft crush for a while. Um, if you look to my biggest draft sleepers video that I posted maybe 2 or 3 months ago, I think Blake Miller was a part of that. Um, and that's just because I liked his film so much, and, now he's getting first round hype, obviously, and stuff like that, but, just a really good player, um, and it comes so effortless to him. Obviously, he gets drawn back a little bit, as every offensive lineman does, but you can just see how quickly he's able to latch on to people. He's got really good feet, and that really good ability to kinda just, like, stutter and scan, so he knows where to approach defensive lineman at, like, where's their weak point in that moment. I mean, yeah, this is Dylan Stewart. He's going to be a top 5 pick. Um, and then he switched sides, and Blake Miller is just able to hold his own. So yeah, just a really good player. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes before Houston. I wouldn't be surprised if he's there at 28 either. It's really hard to find a range for these people. If I were to mock Blake Miller, it'd be to the Eagles at 23, in my opinion. But I mean, if he's there at 28, please explore this, Houston. I just love Blake Miller as a player, and I think he would be a fun addition to this team. And he could be a swing tackle to start out. You don't really know, but he's a versatile player. He might be able to kick inside to guard at the NFL level. We'll see, but that's Blake Miller, guy I really like as well. Moving on though, we got Kristen Miller on from Blake Miller, and you can just see if you want to talk about Swarm, this is Swarm. Physical run defender, able to take on multiple guys and just get through, swim, get to the quarterback. Um, I think the pass rush upside is there. He doesn't really get to the quarterback all that much, but you can see how well he uses his base. And his thing is the low man always wins. He's always the lowest man. If you look at it, that's Jeremiah Wright, another draft prospect there, a guy that I actually like. Um, but you can see how well he uses his hands. And that is in the college football playoff game against Ole Miss. But flows with the play, similar to Koldrick Falk. He's very good at flowing with where the play is going, and then wreaking havoc there. Um, an exceptionally good player, especially against the run. He's just so fun to watch. You look at the first step; it's very explosive. I know it might seem not like much just because he's an interior defensive lineman, but compared to a lot of other interior defensive linemen, that first step when it's explosive, you're able to just latch onto an interior offensive lineman that's not expecting it at that time. It's fun. It's fun to watch because they're just able to drive them back, wreak havoc in the run game, and that's exactly what Christian Miller does for a living. His thing is to do stuff in the run game, and I think he's able to play three tech in the NFL. Um, and you can see that pass rush upside is there. It's just getting to the quarterback that's the concern. Um, but yeah, really good player Christian Miller is. You watch the highlights. It's going to be a lot of run highlights, but you can see how well he splits the gap. You can see how well he defends the run. Very swarmy. Is just always going to be in an angular pursuit, and just like that, you think about that Josh Allen play. Christian Miller would be a key contributor on that Josh Allen play from last year if he was in Houston. But a guy I really like, there's a reason he's got the highest probability score to become a Houston Texan on the app again. Um, but yeah, that is Christian Miller, one of the best run defenders, if not the best run defender in this class. And then a guy with pass rush upside too that I think you need to unlock, but is able to be unlocked. It's not, just dead in the water. Some guys don't really have that pass rush upside. Shamar Stewart, a guy that you think might have pass rush upside, doesn't. Um, it's a case again with Christian Miller, but I think this is some more unlockable potential as a pass rusher just because of how good he uses his hands. But moving on to Caden McDonald, again, a guy I really like, good in the run game, similar to uh, Kristen Miller, as I talked about, but you just see his alignment throughout this film, and that's a reason why I'm a little shaky on him. You can see him lining up over the center there. You can see him lining up in the B gap sometimes. So you don't really know where Caden McDonald's going to fit in the NFL. I think he's a one tech. I think he does his best work in that A gap right there where he just lined up in, and you can see how effortlessly he deals with the people there. Another A gap highlight. Um, Another A gap highlight. That time he's lined up over the center. So you can see the Texans don't really run with that. We run with guys in the B gap um, or over the guards. And you can see how much Caden McDonald lines up over the center. He's an exceptional player, don't get me wrong. I just think the fit might not be there for Caden McDonald. I know people love him as a player. I love him as a player. And that's a highlight over the B gap. But you can see his best work is definitely over the A gap there. Some very shaky film here. Um, again in the A gap, but able to just do things to players that the interior defensive linemen don't usually do, and that's just maul and continue to maul. Texans seem to really like him, so maybe they're looking for that run stopping guy that can play over the center. We haven't really explored that opportunity yet with any defensive lineman. It's been mostly three techs, but in my opinion, that's just what the Texans like. And maybe you develop Caden McDonald into something like that. I'm not certain, but a really good player, really good in the run game, does have that pass rush upside too. 4 sacks, I think, in this past season, but a lot of that was due to how good of a team Ohio State was as a whole. But hopefully that pass rush upside does continue in the NFL. I think he had 1 sack prior to that, but then for this past season, so one of his best seasons of his collegiate career, easily his best season of his collegiate career, actually. And a guy that I think could be an exciting piece for anyone in the NFL. I don't know if it'll be in Houston just because of the schematic fit, but I wouldn't mind it because we do. I would like a one tech to just be able to stop the run. I just don't know if the Texans want that if they just like their three techs because of how well it worked last year. But moving on, we got Chase Basantis. This is pass protection. I mean, again, some people don't like Basantis as a prospect because they're scared of Kenyon Green, but look at the hands. I mean, this is what I'm saying. you want a guy to not use his best attribute, and that is his hands. You see that anchor, he's just able to, stabilize his base. This is pass protecting clips. I don't have any run in here just because I think he excels in pass protection. Um, and I want to show you his strengths because people don't give him credit. They think, Kenyon Green allowed a lot of sacks, so Basantis is going to. That's not the case. Basantis is not nearly a similar player to Kenyon Green. This is a very, very good offensive lineman in the pass game. I mean, you just see that base. He doesn't let people by him. In my opinion, the best pass protector guard in this class. Um, and sometimes when I watch A&M's film, I tweeted this earlier. I just get lost watching Casey Concepcion, who I think is an exceptional player. But Basantis, in my opinion, is the second best guard in this class after Vega. Obviously, there's going to be Fano, who's considered maybe a guard or a center, and some other players that are technically tackles that might go to guard in the NFL. But if we're talking guards that play guard in college, then Chase Basantis is number two on my list over Pregnon. Um, and I get the discourse, the Texas A&M fear. I don't think it's there. Um, just finds work, got such a good base, and such good hands too. Like he is going to work you with his hands. And I know people are like, "Well, he's too hand dependent." That's not really a concern. If he's using his best attribute, let him use his best attribute. Um, and you can see some of the protection issues from A&M's offensive line on the other side, while Basantis is just doing his job. I mean, you can see how well he just holds up the pocket though, and I think he'd be able to do that in the NFL as well. Um, I think there is another. I thought that was a rep against Chris McClellan, but that was not Chris McClellan. Guy I really liked though, Chris McClellan. I could see Houston taking him. Um, but I mean, you can see how quickly he replaces his hands too when pass rushers are able to just slightly move him a little bit. He's able to just move those hands, and replace and re-anchor himself. Wish Caleb Banks played in this game. I thought that would have been an intriguing matchup, but he just never did. But yeah, I mean, such a good player Basantis is. I love him. I know some people are concerned with him. I don't see why. I think he's awesome. I would love him at 28. I know some people wouldn't. I would love him even more at 38, obviously. But if the Texans like him, the Texans like him. He got hosted on a top 30 visit. There are going to be some updates to the draft tracker as well throughout today. I do have some stuff I need to do on there, but I mean, you just see how elite this film is in pass protection. I don't see how you don't like this guy. But that's Chase Basantis, my personal favorite guard in this class, other than Ione, obviously. Um, and a guy I would love at 28 or even at 38. So move on from that to Maxi Honachur. And this is him against David Bailey to start off. You can just see how fluid those feet are, just able to get out against those, quick, twitchy defensive linemen. That's Romello Height there, another draft prospect. You just see how fluid those feet are. Again, just able to, quickly turn his hips and then latch onto dudes. And he's very strong at 6'6", 330. And you know, able to replace, able to just drive you back, do what he wants with you. And I think he's an exciting prospect. Hasn't played football for too long, but you can see how good he is. A lot of reps against David Bailey. He had his way with him throughout that entire day. Um, and this is Colorado, I believe. I was thinking it was UCF for some reason, but it's not. Um, but you can see that anchors there. Those feet are real. A really good Sam Levitt just got decked there. Um, but I mean, you can see decent in the run game, but I think a lot better as a pass protector than a run defender. But he is able to latch on to dudes and just drive them back. That is a fact. Um, Sorry, I'm just watching the film along with y'all. I forget sometimes I have to commentate on this stuff, but good in the run game, good in the pass game. It's Ihanator. You know what you're getting with him. You're getting a developmental tackle who's good in open space. He's really good with his feet, fluid, decent athlete. 6'6", 330, a little bit older. I think he's 23 or 24, but not a concern for me. Offensive lineman, usually, if you draft him, you'd get 7 or 8 good years of him before you got to move on from him. Um, and I think he could be a premium at the position if he develops the way that um, teams expect him to, with that arm length, with that fluidness. Excuse me, but that is Maxi Hunter out of Arizona State. There. Moving on, we got Zion Young again, another swarmy player at edge. I mean, you can just see how good of a pass rush bag he has throughout this entire film session. It's insane. I'm telling you, the film is insane on Zion Young. I think the character is a concern, but he is so fun to watch. Um, Swarmy, good against the run, not afraid to just bull rush you. He he's 260. He looks like he's 240, and he hits like he's 280. That's the way to explain Zion Young. Um, I don't know what other way to put it. Um, Missed a sack there actually, but decent rep. This is against Caden Proctor here. And you can see where Caden Proctor loses a little bit. And that's when he gets drove back a little, just pretty effortlessly by Zion Young there. And it happened a couple times to Proctor throughout the course of the season. I mean, so sometimes you just gotta laugh because of how good this film is. Um, I love him. I love him as a player. He's rising on me a lot. I think the character is certainly a concern. But if you're able to find him at 28 or 38, then I would love that. That's Austin Barber, who's a really good player. Um, I actually really like him out of Florida. Yeah, Zion Young had a day at the Senior Bowl. In case you didn't know, that's Ihanacho right there. Just gets beat on the inside. Um, Again, Zion Young just so fun. Gonna drive dudes into your lap. Gonna wreak havoc in the pass game. Gonna wreak havoc in the run game as well. But we move on to my favorite player in this draft. It's Casey Concepcion. You look at that ability to separate. This is just the game against Notre Dame too, so you can see how much he affects one game. He only had 82 yards in this game, but you can see how much he wreaks havoc on opposing defenses, even if he doesn't get the ball. Gets the ball there, um, as there's a replay on that deep shot. Might have been able to find the end zone. Um, I mean that stutter step and go. He's got elite speed. Just so fun. The amount of times that Marcel Reed missed him in this game, it was a little annoying, but A&M did end up getting the victory, so there was that. And you can see him blow by dudes again. Um, just this time, just a good route, able to secure the first down. But that separating is real. You see what I mean there? And I might actually go ahead and replay this there. You see him trek onto his hip looking like he's going vertical, so the defender opens, and then right then he makes his cut, and it makes the defender completely turn, and there he has a separation. Obviously the ball's out already, but you can see Concepcion do that a lot in his film. Again, another elite athleticism catch, but really good player Concepcion is. I love him. um like absolutely love him. This would be the fun pick. I know some people don't like the fun picks. I might not even be in favor of the fun pick sometimes. Another deep shot there though for Concepcion, to round out that Notre Dame game where you could just see he wreaked havoc on that team in the entire night. A&M won that game 41-40, I believe, but really fun game to watch. As we move on to Caleb Lomu, again a really good pass protector. This is again against David Bailey. I have my concerns for David Bailey as a prospect, but not going to go too deep into that. Not really a Texans, reach player, but you can see how well he uses his anchor. I think he has work to do in the run game, but we'll see. We'll see with Lomu in the NFL whether he plays guard or tackle. I think his best is at probably right tackle if I were to assume. Obviously, played left tackle for Utah as soon as he came in. He's a redshirt sophomore, so has 2 years of experience there. Played left tackle both years. Not afraid to find work, not afraid to latch onto you. Um, just a really really good mauler in the pass game. And I know you don't really expect people to maul in the pass game, but that's exactly what Lomu does. Um, And he's not afraid to lay something on you, and he's got decent athleticism there. You can see him just get up to that's the third level at that point, and he's able to reach it effortlessly. But similar to Basantis as a pass protector, you can just see him just use that anchor and not really move. I don't know the other way to put it. He just doesn't really move at all. Like opposing edges have such a hard time moving him back just because of how good his feet are, how good his anchor is. So I think this is someone you could explore at 38. I think this is someone you could explore at 28 as well. I know he's been mocked to the Texans a couple times, and I do like his film. Um, I just prefer again a Blake Miller over him, but I wouldn't mind Lomu at either of those spots. Moving on though, we got Caleb Banks, and you're gonna see um, just the concerns a little bit with Banks as well as some of the highlights. You can see how effortlessly he's able to get into those positions, but you can see how quickly he rises up. Um, after some plays, but then he has plays like that, and you're kind of just like, well, what type of prospect is this? And plays like that, he's gonna miss a tackle, but he's gonna be there, and you can see how we'll watch that play back actually. Um, oh, that's Malachi Lawrence. Where were we? Somewhere here. I think it was this play. No, one after. So you can see what my concern is. If you just slightly go, you can see him just rise at the point of attack. And he's 6'6", 330, so, against these interior offensive linemen that are a lot smaller than him in college, it works. But you can see he's off his feet right here. So if someone has a good anchor, they're just going to be able to drive him back. Um, he gets really high at times, and you can see that ended up in him just getting brought down. Another play where he just rises high. He's gonna have to adjust to his pad level in the NFL, but I mean, you can see that elite twitch, that elite athleticism at 6'6", 330. Um, but again, my concern is just that how he rises so high every single play. I get he's 6'6", and it's so hard to navigate, but it's gonna lead to some mishaps, and just some gaps being wide open, if he's not able to just break through. But I mean, you can see him rise up again. Gonna be able to use his hands just with his strength, but it's difficult. It is difficult, especially with his size. I think if he can navigate it in the NFL, you've got one of the better interior defensive linemen in the league. But it's just yet to be seen in college, and injuries are a concern, foot injuries. But a guy I really like, don't get me wrong, like I would be on board for D'Amico taking a swing on Caleb Banks. I wouldn't be on board if it was a hmm, who could I think of? Who does not like the Jets taking a swing on Caleb Banks? I don't think that makes much sense, excuse me. Um, or the Buccaneers not really make much sense to take a swing because they just don't value or not value, but develop interior defensive linemen really well. The Jets do, so I kind of resent that a little bit. But I mean, we'll see where Caleb Banks goes. I do think the injuries are a concern and it's going to cause him to fall, but we're going to and you just see that elite twitch from Malachi Lawrence that a lot of people don't possess. Second round range, maybe even the back half of the first round, which is why I'm talking about him here. Last but not least, it's Lee Hunter, 15th on the board. Just such a good player for Texas Tech this past season, but you can see he might be a one tech in the NFL. He might be a three tech. You don't really know. Tech used him in a variety of ways. Good in the run game, has that pass rush upside too, but your concern with him is the fact that he plays with his pads a little bit high, 6'4", 330, so you expect that a little bit, but you can see there against Pregnon, even though he was able to make the play, gets gets high and gets beat a little bit. Um, So, there's concerns with Lee Hunter. There's concerns with every single player on this. To be honest, there's not a perfect prospect. You can say Pregnon is a really solid prospect, but then there's sometimes like in that play where he's able to anchor a guy and then just gets beat somehow. Um, but you can see him do his job there against Jacob Rodriguez, climbing to the second level. But yeah, Lee Hunter, an enticing player. Not my personal favorite, but I can see why people like him. Um, but with that being said, that is the 15 players that are my first or second round hopefuls, 28, 38, whatever it may be, maybe even 34 if you trade down with the Cardinals, which I think is likely, but we'll see what ends up coming to fruition on draft night. These are 15 guys that I would like the Texans to take a look at. Obviously, from Lomu up are the ones that I really, really like, and then Malachi Lawrence is a little bit of an outlier. Um, but we'll see what the Texans decide to do. But if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe. And as always, it's Texans Takeover, and I'm out. Peace.